All right, here it is, the video that I've been threatening to provide you with since January. This is my couched alphabet. This is how I like to do my letters now. Um, I don't know if I saw it somewhere else. Honestly, I think I made it up myself, but you know, there's nothing new under the sun, so I doubt that it was me. And I'm actually going to start in the wrong spot here because, oh no, little L doesn't get a thing. Okay. Okay, so I've got my needle threaded with some Eleganza 8-weight pearl cotton. And I'm going to start at the bottom of my M here. So I've done most of it, but I've still got some straight letters and some round letters so that I can show you the different things. And this is just my handwriting. This is not any special thing that I traced out. I just drew the letters down. I laid out a line. Obviously, I traced some lines for myself. And then I drew my letters on, probably with a friction pen, so that, you know, I'll iron it, it'll come off later. Except with the exception of the F where I didn't like my placement, I'll press it, you know, and the lines will go away. If they come back later, it won't be the end of the world. I prefer it if they didn't, but you know, who knows if they're listening. So I take a stitch along the line that I want to do, and obviously that stitch is too long to not come loose. So I'm going to go back and just take a little stitch over it to secure it in place as if I were couching the fiber. And now I think those stitches are a good length. So I'll go on to the next part of the M. And again, this is, I feel like it's maybe a little long. And also I want to make sure that every piece of the letter has a little bump on it so that it's kind of consistent. But I'll just go and I'll tack them down. Like, so if I felt like these lines were too long, I might put 2 stitches over it, tack it twice. But I don't think I'm going to bother. And I just try to make sure that I really secure the stitches down exactly over the printed line. So a lot of times my couching stitch goes down into the same hole it came out of. I found this to be much easier for me. My letters look much more legible than when I try to do it with a back stitch or a chain stitch, especially on curves. Like, you know, my R is a little weird. That's all right. But, you know, the E, I really like the curve of the E. I like the curve on the A. Like, I'm happy with the way these shapes work out for me. So, this M, the little m, lowercase, same thing for the straight part. I'm going to bring my needle up, you know, just a tiny bit below where the letter started because I want to have that little bump on my M. And I'm going to put my needle down at the bottom of that stroke. And I'm treating each stitch as if it's a stroke of the pen. So I'm going to kind of guide the thread where I want it to be. Make sure it's laying nicely. Don't pull too tight or else you'll lose your curve. Just kind of hold it in place. And I'm going to take a little tack here. And then I might take 1 or 2 tacks. I'll probably take 2 along the curve. And I'm actually referring to, you know, sometimes I call these little stitches tacking stitches, couching stitches, whatever. Just to fasten that little line in place. All right. And then sometimes I will make another, I'll start down here and go around, or I can start here and go around. It just depends on my mood. I'm not always super consistent with how I shape my letters. But today I'm just going to go back up there. I don't want that extra bulk in the middle for this one. I'm going to pull my thread down to where I like it. Bring my needle back up. Take a little tacking stitch, and with my fingers that are on the back of the fabric, I'm making sure that when I pull the thread through, that I pull it all the way through. I don't want to have any of those big crazy loops on the back that will make things come loose later. I want to make sure that I've pulled my thread through all the way. And you can see I was using scrap thread, so everybody's a different color. Once in a while I get a piece like this where I don't love the way it lined up, and I will live to embroider another day, and that's going to stay just like that. And I'm going to clip this rather than try to fish it out of there. All right, and I'm just going to knot this letter off. I do, when I'm doing a line of like a whole word, I don't always cut the thread in between each letter. So, and I'm not going to do too many of these letters on this video because I think you can tell what I'm doing, right? So I'm going to do my O's. Maybe I'll do my O's and my S's with you. And then I'll finish this bad boy off and be done with this page. So my O, I'm going to go around, all the way around, and then back in the same hole because I want it to be a circle. So it's a little tricky with this one. I want to hold on to the knot on the back to make sure I don't pull it out as I'm going around. And again, I'm just going to fuss the thread around a little bit with my finger and make sure that it's, you know, that I've got enough there to cover up my drawn O. And I'm going to take several couching stitches to secure it. I don't know if you can see it on the cue how many I've got. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the leg of the cue is holding it down also. But I don't mind taking a lot of little stitches as long as I'm not making the letter look too chubby or misshapen. And I just keep trying to make sure that I guide it over the line that I've drawn. If you're finding that you don't like the way that these couching stitches look, I mean, if you're doing it in the same color, see, when I don't use a variegated, they look much different than when I use a variegated and some of the bumps show, or some of the tacking stitches show and some of them don't. Actually, that one doesn't look quite, there we go. It's a little bit fussy, but I find it less fussy than trying to use a chain stitch to form my letters, or a tiny back stitch or anything. So I just thought it was a fun way to form my letters, and I really like the way they look. So I'll just switch right over to the lowercase o, and I'll do the same thing. I'll pull the thread up and bring it back down in the same hole. And then I will, so when you do smaller letters, it gets a little more fussy. And I tend to take my time and do the stitches one at a time without bringing the needle back up. I'm a little bit more accurate when I take a complete stitch like this rather than trying to skip around quickly by shoving my needle in and out at the same time. Okay. All right. Huh. See, don't they look great? I love these little letters this way. Sometimes on my stitch samplers, I get a little fancier and I do the letters differently. Like if I have a Y, I'll use a fly stitch. Or if I have, I'll do a star stitch for an O or something like that. But just doing it with the couching stitches requires a lot less thought as to whether a shape can make a letter or not. So, if you want, let me know if you want a PDF of my handwriting that you can download. I would be shocked, honestly, but I can certainly do that. I think I actually at some point created a handwriting font, so maybe this is the time to learn how to use it. But any letters that you like are good. I've just gotten, I practiced a little bit with my lettering and I'm happy with how it looks now. I actually really like that it's kind of mine and original. Of course, it's my like performance handwriting. It's not my regular day-to-day handwriting, which is completely illegible. And would be too small. All right, so you can see I'm just doing the S, same way I did the other ones. It's just a little bit fussier because you kind of have to hold your thread and shape it and not pull it through too far. So I have, you know, this doesn't look promising, right? So I'm going to pull it, and then I'm just going to, with my fingers, flip it over the way I want it. And it doesn't always want to cooperate perfectly, but I'm in charge here to a reasonable amount. I just make sure that there's enough, and then I kind of take some tacking stitches along the drawn line, and it will fall into place the way I want. And it doesn't always come out perfect, but that's all right. I'm not really looking for perfection anyways. Perfection's elusive. This one looks kind of like my handwriting. So that's how you do it. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these off. And I also have numbers at the bottom just for fun. But I would say give it a try. And we do need a few extra pages in our book because if we do 12 samplers, that won't be enough. We need, I think we need 16. Oh, to get a cover and a back. Yeah, I think we need 14. I'll look at it, but I'll make sure we have instructions for that next. But so there's the couching alphabet, or as I wanted to call it, a couchabet, but my business partner, boss, told me no, that we don't like puns. But I know we all like puns. So have fun with your couchabet. Don't tell Yvette I called it that. Bye.